Good afternoon, Newton Baseball Club coaches. I'm putting together a video here to kind of talk about some very specific things regarding our mental toughness program that we do. I'll also put together one more video that talks about practice planning and how to practice your development of mental toughness with your junior team. The reason I'm making these videos is because it was asked or requested by the board, NBC board, so that you could look at these videos prior to getting together with me in an open Q&A session at the athletic training center or at the high school or whatever location the Newton board decides. So let's go ahead and get started because I don't want to take too much of your time here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Coach George. I'm the head baseball coach at Newton High School. And in an attempt to try to create a better connection between the high school program and the Newton Baseball Club, we're going to collaborate and try to do a little bit more interaction with you guys to give you guys some resources that I think would be beneficial for you as you're trying to develop your young players who hopefully eventually will be my players in the future. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you and show you what I'm going to talk about today. So what you see here is what we use as far as our mental training system for our players. We call this, or we try to get our players to become one-pitch warriors. And this is our mental toughness and training system. And the reason we call it the One Pitch Warriors, one, it's referenced from a high school coach from Iowa, who was really, really successful. And I read a lot of information from him regarding what he does to help train his athletes to become more mentally tough. And I think I think his philosophies and a lot of the stuff that he uses is very user friendly. It's easy to apply. At all levels, from 10 and under all the way up through college baseball and even professional baseball. So a starting point for us for mental toughness is we try to get our kids to understand really what mental toughness is. You have very little control over what goes on around you. You do have control of how you respond to it. And self-control is something that's very important for us, and self-control is something that oftentimes kids really don't think about as being a really important attribute growing up. I read a book one time called The Collapse of Parenting, and this pediatrician he theorizes that if a student or a child doesn't have self-control doesn't have an understanding of self-control by the time he's age 11, then that child is probably going to struggle substantially in their adult life. And what is self-control? Self-control is being able to not do something, to control your instincts of doing something that you know is not good for you. And so for us, when we see on the baseball field, baseball is one of the most mentally challenging sports that you can play. And with that being said, we have to be in control of our emotions. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to function in a baseball game. It's extremely adverse. You must be in control of yourself before you can control your performance. Thoughts lead to action. Actions produce results. What you think, what you do, what you end up with. This is a lot of the things that we teach with regards to our mental toughness. Limit your focus to task-oriented actions, one pitch at a time. Win more pitches than your opponent. Task-oriented actions. See ball, hit ball. See a good pitch to hit. Barrel it up. Pound the zone. Hit the glove. React to the ball. Go get it. See it off the bat. Eyes down. These are things that are very task-focused or task-oriented, and these are helpful things that we can remember while we're trying to compete. Now, we'll go into a little bit more detail in terms of why those little phrases help. In baseball, there's 4 outcomes. In most sports, there's 4 outcomes. You can play well and win. You can play well and lose. You can play poorly and win, and you can play poorly and lose. So in reality, in many ways, the results of things that happen sometimes are just out of our control. Probably one of the worst is you can play well and lose. It's very frustrating. You did everything that you needed to do to win the game, And for whatever reason, you lost. Maybe they did it better than you. Maybe there's something freaky that happened. Maybe an umpire cost you the game or whatever. But what we try to get our players to focus on is not so much on winning and losing. We try to get them to focus on what they have control over. And what they have control over is their attitude, their commitment, and their effort. We ask them to be an ace for our program. When you look at things, you need to look at them as good or bad versus good and bad. Let's just admit that when we win and lose, that we're going to play at times both good and bad, rather than look at our performance in a manner of good versus bad. Gain confidence from the good and learn from the bad. We always have a choice to learn. One thing that we say is get better or get bitter. Which is it going to be? Regardless, every day you show up, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no in between. There's no staying the same. You're either improving or you're getting worse. You're improving because you're looking at what you did well and trying to grow, or you're improving because you made a mistake and you're trying to learn from that mistake. When we look at failure, we call fail first attempt in learning. So how can we learn from this particular situation? When we look at the 5 P's of peak performance, we have perspective, process, positive attitude, present moment, and quality practice. And the 2 things that I think are really important for us and what we'll focus on going forward is going to be the present moment and quality practice. But let's touch on perspective real quick. Baseball is just a game. Don't take it too seriously, but don't take it for granted. When things are going bad for you in baseball, remember, life could be worse. And I'll touch on that a little bit more down the road, probably not in this session, probably not in the next few sessions. Process, focus on the journey, not the destination. Become process focused. And I think the process ties in a lot with being in the present moment. Positive attitude. Excellent is not a skill, it's an attitude. Learn how to control your thoughts. Controlling your thoughts can help you control your performance. Think about what you want to do rather than what you want to avoid. Like attracts like. We say all the time, act like, be like. If you want to be a champion, then you should act like a champion. And then maybe you have a chance of being like a champion. If you want to be a winner, well, then act like a winner. And then you have a chance of being a winner. And acting doesn't necessarily mean just puffing your chest out. Acting means in all facets of your life, you behave like a winner. You brush your teeth 2 times a day. You open the door for people who need help. You bless others instead of blessing yourself. One thing we talk about in terms of what helps a positive attitude is being a servant. Serve others before you serve yourself. And ironically, you would be surprised at how much that has an impact on your attitude and your outlook in life. Continuing on, being in the present moment. So the present moment is something we'll spend a little bit more time today on trying to be mentally tough. In order to maintain a positive attitude, you must stay in the present moment. Nothing is more important than what is about to happen right now. We can control the present. The past is history. The future is a mystery. They call it the present because it is a gift. When we look at the present moment, we always say win the moment. Win the moment. WIN. It's an acronym. What is important now? What's important now? So how do we focus on what's important now? Well, the 5 R's are routine, rehearse, recognize, release, and refocus. And this is a sequence that one can go through. So if you are hitting, you need to have a routine. What is a routine? There's 3 components of a routine. Number 1, you have a focal point. Number 2, you take a deep breath. And number 3, you have to create some version of a positive self-talk that is process-oriented or process-focused that allows you to create hyper-focus in the moment. So if I'm a hitter and I've got a runner on third base, I don't want to tell myself I need to hit the ball or I have to get a hit to score the run. I have to shrink that focus from a results-oriented focus into a more task-oriented focus. So I'm sitting there looking at my bat. I found a focal point on my bat. I take a deep breath. And then based on the situation, I'm giving myself some sort of a task-focused, positive self-talk that gets me to hone or kind of get laser-sighted focus. So if I had a runner on third base and the infield is back, I may sit there and take a deep breath, and I may say, see the top of the baseball. That's task focused. All I am asking myself to do is see the top of the baseball. Why do I want to see the top of the baseball? Because I want to hit a ground ball. Because there's less than 2 outs. The infield is back. I know a ground ball is going to score that run. And it keeps it simple. If I am on the mound, and I've constantly been coached not to open up my front shoulder too soon, I'm going to straddle the mound. I'm going to find a piece of dirt. I'm going to focus on it. I'm going to take a deep breath. And then I'll say, stay closed. And then I'll engage the rubber, and I'm ready to pitch. I'm focused. Well, the problem is I have to rehearse this. I have to practice this. And the reason we practice it is that so that it becomes habit. Well, another component or another R is called recognize. And recognize is what we refer to as seeing the color spectrum. If I'm seeing green lights, if I'm in what we call green, then that means I'm all systems go. I am confident. I am ready to rock and roll. My routine is working for me, or maybe I'm not even thinking about my routine. If I'm seeing yellow lights, then that means I'm starting to get anxious. My breath is shortening. My heart is starting to beat a little faster. And then if I see red lights, then that means all systems are not go. Danger, danger, danger. And I have to recognize when I am experiencing these emotions. And what I do is I have to have some type of a release in order to get me to release those mental bricks. And we said, see there's release is the 4th R. And a lot of times if players get so good at their routine and they become so comfortable, they can use their routine to take them from red to yellow or take them from yellow to green. But what we cannot do, and this is probably the most important thing, is that we cannot be results focused while we're playing baseball. Refocus. Focus is a big part of being successful. Rehearsing, recognizing, and utilizing your routine is a starting point for releasing those bricks so that we can refocus. We have a better chance of reaching a desired outcome if we can focus during more pitches than our opponent. Follow your routine, trust it, stay process or task oriented, and have faith that results will take care of themselves. So what's a good way for us to rehearse this? What's a good way for us to practice this? Obviously, during baseball practice. So it all boils down to having a quality practice and preparation. We must practice in a way that matters or means something. We are trying to achieve excellence in execution. Everything matters. Today is all that matters. Today needs to be the best day. Excellence is not an event. It is a lifestyle. Champions make the most of every drill. Don't count the days, make the days count. Each player has an hourglass continually running out. You need to understand this so you will work to improve every day, so you can learn to enjoy what you have right now. How do we make practice matter? For practice to matter, it must be like a game. Games matter because something is on the line, winning and losing. For practice to matter, we must put something on the line. We must compete in practice the same way we expect ourselves to compete during games. This is what we call quality preparation. Now, my final thoughts in terms of coaching and training mental toughness is when I reflect on what I do as a coach, in order for me to achieve what I want to achieve, or at least feel good about what I do, I think it's important for us to understand, like, what's our purpose? Like, what are we doing? What are we trying? Why are we doing what we do? Why are we here? And this is kind of my reflections off of after reading a book called Lead for God's Sake. Why are we here? Why do we decide to play baseball, football, basketball, bowling, wrestling, and so forth and so on? Why do we show up? Sure, we love or have some passion for the activity that we choose to participate in, or we feel gratified and hopefully not obligated to play for someone else. But what is the purpose? We choose to be part of a team because we desire companionship, camaraderie, friendship, relationship. We need to feel like we are part of something bigger than ourselves. Like we have a purpose. Understanding the human nature of being on a team, your real purpose is to love one another. This is what is intended by design for us. This is what you could say is the heart of why we exist. Whether we like it or not, our actions influence others. Influence equals leadership. How we act is predicated off of how we respond to situations. Again, we cannot control what goes on around us, but we can control how we respond. How we respond will have an influence on each other and how we can compete as a team. So this is my final thoughts. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to meeting with you guys and going into a little bit further detail to help you understand how we try to teach this to our players and get them to understand this. We don't do it great all the time. Sometimes kids just don't seem to grasp the concepts right out of the gate, but I think the sooner they grasp it, the easier it'll be for them once they get older. And I don't really think that this is as purely an athletic thing. I think this is a lifestyle thing. I think it's something that kids can do for their entire lives throughout their entire day and help them become better students, better brothers, better sisters, better baseball players, and also eventually, better fathers or better husbands. So thank you again for listening. You guys have a great day. And like I said, I look forward to seeing you guys. Thank you. Bye.